if I never get to see the Eiffel Tower and
You know, I've been listening to a lot of country lately.
your hand in my
I don't know, so cool, but like old school country.
Old school country.
Yeah.
You're an old soul, bro.
What is it?
You're an old soul.
I'm an old soul. I am an old soul.
We're so different. We're so different. I like everything new. Brand new, baby.
I mean, I like new stuff too. Don't get me wrong. I just got 2 new pairs of shoes to go running.
All right.
To drown my sorrows in sweat.
First post-breakup joke by FONZI. Let's go. That's a win. That's a win.
You know why I let my beard grow?
What's up, everybody? Why?
Because you can now see the tears on the end.
that wasn't that good.
That wasn't that good.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Content is Profit. We are back. FONZI is back.
We survived.
I know. We lost the sexy voice though. Remember the episode with Phoebe and friends?
My voice is always sexy.
That she's sick and like she's like my sexy voice, and she's like trying to lick the cups and trying to lick everything. Like give me my sexy voice back. That's how I feel, guys. If you want to listen to my sexy voice, go to the previous episode.
It doesn't sound sexy at all. It sounds like you're sick. That it just sounds like you're sick.
It's that rustiness, you know. I don't know.
The grass.
I've gotten good compliments on my sick voice. Just gonna put that out there. But anyways, with that said, I think we're ready to get started, guys. We're so excited. So excited. You excited, FONZI?
Energize myself.
By the way, nice shirt you're wearing, bro.
Oh, look at that. Is that part of the new swag line,
Nice swag
that we're
line.
launching?
Oh, BIZBROS. Yeah, if you're interested, send us a DM. Yeah, coming soon.
I know we have a few.
All mine are dirty. I wore all 7 of them.
I mean, me too, and I just did laundry.
I haven't done laundry. That's the difference. All right.
You just gotta wash your clothes. That's it.
All right. Anyways, we good?
I'm ready. I think I'm I need the energy levels. You know, I gotta do the push-ups.
You gotta do the push-ups. I think you missed the mark on that one. All right, here we go.
We've got some
Hey,
fresh
I'm
new
Luis.
young talent
And this is
doing
Luis.
some
Hi, you're
things that I know
listening
you
to
haven't
Content
heard
is Profit
before.
Podcast.
In here, you're going to get the insights, accountability, and drive to create consistently and increase revenue.
Woo, baby. You'll hear from top entrepreneurs, creators, and anything and everything you need to know about content. All this while having a damn good time, baby.
That is right. The goal of this podcast is simple: to entertain, educate, and turn your content into profit.
Can you say that word again, please?
Dude, that's a tough one. Entertain.
You're definitely entertaining.
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 It was either that or edutain.
I think you're entertaining more with that word.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm definitely gonna have to work on my pronunciation for that one.
You got this.
Yeah.
All right.
Fine.
What are we
It's all
talking
good.
about today, Fonz?
Guys, today we are discovering our untapped potential and realities.
Ooh,
Honestly,
baby.
this conversation is gonna go deep. It can go anywhere. You know how we roll in Content is Profit.
All I see is a sword in the background of our guest. So you know, we'll see what happens. Anything can
I
happen
know.
today. But if you're liking and enjoying this show, please go ahead and hit that follow, support, and follow us on social media as well. Super awesome to hear from you. All the comments, all the feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
You can tell it's been a week since we recorded our previous episode.
Why?
Yeah,
This is a new flow. I'm trying
this
something
is a
new.
new play. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not rusty. What is that? Guys, if today's guest help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode. And of course, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Let's go. So we are back with another episode with a guest that was referred by the Hall of Famer, George Bryant. And you know what that means.
Possibly a lot of tears.
Yeah, baby.
But it's all good because today's guest is here to help us better understand our untapped potential and clear those roadblocks. Wow. I'll share a story here in just a
Where
second.
is your English, Fonzie?
Those roadblocks that might be stopping you from growing to the next level.
Today's guest will teach you how to shift your perspective and master your energy. She has been an entrepreneur since her early 20s. She's about to become a published author, and she's the host of the Untamed Live podcast.
Oh, yeah. This intro totally doesn't do her justice, but please welcome the one and only Kristen Jewell.
I feel like I should dance.
Yeah, dance. We say is optional, but we know deep down is mandatory, baby. Let's go.
You know.
Christine, I have a quick random story for you. I was reading the intro in here and I said, I put the word roadblocks, right? But when I first wrote it, I said block roads. And I even Googled it. I was like, what is it, block roads? And then I discovered that it's actually spelled roadblocks. So when I was reading right now, I got in my mind, I was like, remember it's roadblocks and not block roads. And I just got all mixed up and I said the word wrong. But either way, we have you here and we're extremely happy. So thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you for having me. And I have to ask you, is that because in Spanish you say it backwards? Like, you know how sometimes you think in one language, but then you have to like reorchestrate?
It's because he still doesn't know English. Christine, like, he doesn't know English after
Yeah.
10 years.
I could say yes, you know, and I'm
Okay.
that my mind is mixing up things up, but it was just a word that I rarely use.
Yeah. Well, Christine, congrats on the new place. I think, you know, you just
Thank
mentioned
you.
that you guys moved to a new location. So congrats. And super exciting. So, you know, for those that might not know who you are and what you do, can you give us a Cliff Notes?
The Cliff Notes. Well, I think you guys just did such a good job that I don't want to mess it up now. But what do I do? What do I do? I do state shifting. I take people from one reality into another, and we do it quickly with ease in a way that feels amazing. And we transform relationships. We get things, you know, we get people out of lives that they're going through the motions, sleepwalking, same thing, different day, and really start to put some fire back in the soul, fire back in the heart, fire back in the relationships, just like the right kind of fire, though, you know, the fire that ignites and the fire that invites, not the fire that burns everything down.
Oh, that's so good. Like that warm fire where you like call, you're like, oh, baby, they give me that. Give me some of that.
You know, the fire, like you visualize the big campfire and it calls everybody to you, right? It's just like the right amount of flame, but it's not a fire under your ass.
I like that representation of fire. I don't think I've ever had the comparison before.
Oh, you're familiar with the fire under your ass every morning after our meetings.
Yeah. Lately, I need some more fire. Not gonna lie. I need to find that inviting fire. So I guess this conversation is coming at the perfect time.
Right moment.
It's coming at the right time.
So, Christine, you mentioned that you've been an entrepreneur since your early 20s, right? Like a lot of people that listen to the show, like are in that journey. Maybe, you know, they're around that age. I don't feel like we were, you know, early 20s. We were in college at the time and playing soccer and focusing on different things. But
my soul's is still in the early 20s. Let me tell you.
Sure. What was that initial venture for you, and how do you start on this journey?
Well, you know, I think as I think back, I'm like, I am the worst world. Now you got me talking. I would say I'm probably one of the worst employees, the most unemployable people, because I hate doing what other people tell me to do. And I hate following other people's processes. And I get bored really fast. And my brain and everything just goes way too fast, right? So not way too fast, but way too fast to sit in one spot and do one thing. So if we go back, I think, you know, I grew up in an environment growing up where it was just like a lot of chaotic environment and a lot of movement, a lot of action all the time. You know, that's kind of how my dad rolled and how I rolled. So, and I was always really encouraged to explore, get out there, do the dangerous things. You know, my dad's motto was like, it'll be fine, you know, and like throw me in the water with the alligators to teach me how to ski or something, you know, but it was like, so I was always like, had a very high risk tolerance anyways to begin with. And then my first venture actually was, I did the traditional waiting tables and that for a while, you know, but right away I was like, okay, I got to like figure out how to do my own thing. And I got married very young, got married when I was 23, and my ex-husband and I actually started a couple different businesses, as with every entrepreneur. Okay. Your first business does not always succeed. In fact, it usually takes a couple that burn down and you try another one and try another one, especially when you get two visionary people together.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
can go really well, or it can go like really bad, like
So were you
double,
guys doing
right?
business? You guys were doing business together, married and together, or you
I,
guys have
I
different ventures?
both. So like my
Wow.
first husband, now I'm remarried, but my first husband, also I was always very visionary. I was always attracted to people that were visionary. You know, I loved the adventure. I am an adventurer at heart. And so yeah, my first husband was also a visionary. And so we started a CRM solutions company. So nothing to do with what I do today, but marketing. Coming out of university with marketing, we started basically at the time like a CRM solutions company. And then we ended up growing that. And that's actually what brought me to Canada the first time. So we were doing it for the automotive industry because that's where his background was at and stuff like that. But really, I was just in the love of connecting with people, having awesome conversations. I was doing sales and marketing, and I love humans, and I love having conversations. And if you are truly caring about people, it's easy. Sales is easy, you know, invitations are easy. And so that was the first of several ventures that we went on. And then later I had, after we got divorced, I opened a holistic health and performance studio, and that was like a bricks and mortar facility. And then started another coaching business. So it's been an evolution of things. That's about 3 out of the 10 things that we
Yeah,
did.
that's good. Yeah, that's good. Oh,
That's
that's
a
awesome.
snapshot, but
Yeah. I mean, sounds like a pretty big change from a CRM to, the holistic studio.
well,
Um,
well, yeah, it's funny because, you know, I think like for ever since I was young, athletics, you guys played soccer. I played soccer. Soccer was my sport, calcio and
go.
Italian, you know, what do you say in Spanish? But I played soccer. I think it was a saving grace for me actually in high school when I was going through a lot of really hard times. And I moved here from Italy, like just fitting in different cultures, all the things. So athletics was in my blood early on. I loved it. Soccer, track, I ran, you know, all these things. And when I was young, I got my degree also or my fitness certifications as a personal trainer. So sports was always like something you do for fun, not something you get paid for. So I always, you know, would work and then go play sports or go train people
Mm.
and do this thing and teaching classes and doing fitness and playing soccer and doing all the things after work. And then after my ex-husband and I got divorced, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do what I love, which is training and sports and doing work that I love. And I decided to go with the thing that, you know, is the hobby that people say you can't make money at. And actually worked out pretty well for a while.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
So
that's how I got into it.
I know, Fonzie, before we go, Fonzie, choke the mic. I think this episode is like LUISDA choke the mic. I've been asking all the questions, but so you know, you said you went to your passion business, right? And I've heard multiple versions of this. Ours, I think, has become a little bit of a passion on the things that we do with media and the podcast and this thing. But I don't think it started that way, right? I think if we would have started in a passion place, I think it would have looked very different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, well, just, you know, chasing money or go to do your passion. For us, when we started, the BIZBROS was definitely chasing the money. We were victims of the bro marketers with the Lambos and the thing. We're not into that anymore.
Okay.
It's been a long time. There's been a lot of growth. We still like nice things, not gonna lie, but I don't think that's the main purpose, right? So were you at that stage whenever you decided to do into your passion thing where do you have some money in the bank to be able to do this, or where you were like, oh man, what's fastest path to cash, and on top of that I'm gonna layer the passion on top of it and it worked out? Like, what was that like?
Ooh, I love this question. I love this question. Thank you for asking. So here's the deal. Like I married when I was 23. My ex-husband and I started this business, and over the years we built that company. I think when I got divorced, it was worth about 7 million. We had a team of 40 in Sri Lanka as well, doing some offshore things. And it was not my passion. It was more his vision, but I was along for the ride. And when we got divorced, it was actually a horrible divorce. That's a totally different story. But I actually found myself in the middle of a really nasty divorce. A lot of things creatively financed, to where I had all of a sudden gone from living in $1 million home and thinking I had one lifestyle to, hi, you don't have anywhere to live and you have 3 kids. And I was living in my girlfriend's basement with my 3 kids. I went overnight from like, I have nothing, right? Literally nothing. And so I wasn't going to be working with my ex-husband anymore. And I was at this crossroads and I was like, okay, so I can go I can go to Toronto. I lived outside of Toronto at the time. I can do the 9 to 5 marketing thing, get a corporate thing like this. I'd been doing sales, graphic design, all this stuff, people relationships. Like I knew I could do that. But then I had this 3 kids and I had this love. I was at the time training for world triathlon championships. So I was already training and coaching people on the side. And I remember one of my clients that I was coaching at the time as a hobby, because again, I wasn't making a lot of money yet. I was training myself primarily as an athlete. And one of my clients, I went out to lunch with her, and she was a business coach at the time. And she said to me, you have to open a studio right now. Like this has been something you've been talking about for years. And I always had a vision of wanting to open a bricks and mortar facility, but it was like, people don't make money doing what they love. And no one will take me seriously and all of the things. And now she's telling me to open a business. And I'm like, hi, I have no money, zero, literally. How am I going to do this? And she said, you have to bet on yourself. There is you have to get to the place where there's no other alternative and just do it for a year. And I had that coffee with her. And you know what happened is I drove literally not 24 hours, maybe 48 hours after that conversation. I drove by a building and I saw the for lease sign out there. And I thought, well, what the hell? I'll just call. Who knows? And literally, I have no money for rent. I have no money for anything. I call and I ask the guy, how much for rent? He says $4,000, first and last month's rent. I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay rent. So I was like, well, what can I sell? You're an entrepreneur when you're like, what can I sell? Or where can I, once you get clear on the what, the house shows up. Long story short, I went home and I called a friend who was a jeweler. I sold him my wedding ring and I got $4,000 for the diamond. And so we opened the location less than 30 days later. And I took the only $4,000 I had to my name to open up my first gym, basically, which is what it was at the time. And we opened with an empty room with no equipment. And we did body weight training and triathlon training for the first couple months until I could buy the bikes and buy the weights and buy the things. And here's the thing. We were profitable month 1. We were profitable out the gate. And it just was like a snowball because I really believe when you get in that space where you're just I'm going, I'm believing in myself, I'm rolling the dice, I'm doing what I love. There's so much heart energy in that early space, it has to work. And so it just blew up. And then within a couple of years, it was a multi-6-figure business and I bought commercial property and the whole thing. But the beginning wasn't like that. It was literally single mom, 3 kids, make a decision. Are you going to go with what's familiar where you can get a salaried position? Or are you going to do what you love and be there for your kids and take a massive risk? And so it was a lot of fire under my ass at the time because I needed to make a decision. I was forced to make a decision, but it was also listening to the one thing, and just really going, okay, I'm going to roll the dice.
Was that the inviting fire or the fire that burns?
Well, I would say that the thing I needed at that time of my life, I will say this, I believe that there's a stage of our lives where we all need the fire under our ass to get us off our ass to make a decision. Because a lot of us won't make a decision until something pushes us. And here's the funny thing. At that time of my life, the season I was in, I was, training for triathlon world championships. Everything in my life was about forcing and pushing. So guess what I call the studio?
Force and pushing.
Force and push.
Force and push.
I called it push.
Push.
I said, I was like, the name of the studio is push fit. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. If you got to get uncomfortable. So to answer your question, I think we all have a season where we need that fire under us until we don't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
how do you get as many clients as you needed in that tight time frame? Because you had a month pretty much to make it work, to have the next $4,000, or your first and last month was going to be pretty short. So how did you start acquiring? You had experience in marketing, in sales, but how did you get the foot traffic inside of the door?
And I'm going to be right honest. All of that shit that I learned, I didn't use any of it. I didn't use any of it because I was and I really believe this now. And it's even with the most recent, the business I have now and the coaching business I have. It's I really believe when we're in alignment, we're in integrity, we're doing the right thing, and we are speaking our message from the heart and just sharing our journey with people. I was honest with people about my journey. I was like, I was telling everyone, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Come. I was just inviting people. And like, I was inviting everyone I knew to come and have the experience with me, to come and be in the experience. Right. And the energy was so good when people walked in that space, like referrals, like people were bringing people. And so, the first month, it wasn't a lot, but it was like 7,500. And I was like, I remember like that was a big deal that first month of 7,500, a couple years later now it seems like nothing, but that is a monumental thing, and then the first year to be breaking the 6 figures and the multiple 6 figures and have it just continue to snowball and building a team and everything. So, but I think like in the beginning, it was about sharing the story, being raw, being real, inviting everybody into the ride, and like not looking at people as like, oh my God, I got to make sales. I got to close deals. I got to, right. And I'll tell you this, we might be jumping ahead, but I'll tell you that the minute a couple years in, I hired a business coach that shifted my mindset into all of that. And that's when everything started to go sideways. Wow. Because I lost the heart and I started operating too much in my head.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good. I relate so much into the fire under your eyes because when I had Luca 3 years ago, that moment like is what changed everything. We were dabbling here and there, and bless my wife, Katie, she's been like, yeah, you do your thing, and whatever. And she's always trusting. She's a very different person. But when Luca came, everything was like urgency happens. You're like, okay, we gotta make things happen. It's for real now. So I don't know, Fonzie, maybe the solution for you is you need a kid. Yeah.
You got a baby.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
well,
so.
they say, what do they say? You need inspiration or desperation. So you got to find one.
Oh, I like that. Inspiration or desperation. What you're talking about right now, I was literally, while I was eating lunch today, breakfast/lunch. I don't know anymore. I was watching this video by Ray Dalio. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He wrote the book Principles. And he has these like really cool videos, animated videos that obviously his team makes. And he was talking about his journey. He's pretty much talking about how the idea of the book Principles came to be. And he's talking about a big mistake that he did in like 1989, something like that. And he felt, flat on his booty. And then it became a matter of, well, am I going to become somebody else's employee? Or am I going to, assume the risk that it takes to live a great life? And he says, knowing me, it was about taking the risk and going and search the life that I wanted. He's like, as long as I have food for my kids and, a roof over my head, I'm going to pick the risk.
Yeah.
And I found it pretty interesting because like, that's kind of like what I heard in you right now, right? It's like, I had this opportunity to find a job in Toronto, or I could start my own thing, right? And you took on the risk and you started your own thing, and it definitely paid off, right? I mean, it was hard work. I'm sure it was a lot of hard work and a lot of struggles, but
the hardest work was making the decision. The hardest work was in that moment of like where everything else doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense. Why would you do this now? This timing is terrible. Like the resources are not here. All of the mental, am I allowed to say, I don't know. I call it the mental fuckery that happens. That's like all of the doubt and all of the insecurities that starts pouring in. It's like, that's the moment where I think we have to really act fast. I call it like act in obedience to the spirit. My spirit was calling. I felt like my heart was calling. I was getting like God was pushing me, the universal kick through the door. It's like, it's now or this opportunity is going to get taken off the table. So decide. And it was really funny because even my husband and I went on a walk the other morning. I said, I really believe that's how it is. It's like we have an assignment, we have a calling. There's a door that opens, but it's like it's on the table for you now. Do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? If you don't say yes, it's just like, okay, I'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like like God just passes it on. He's like, okay, I believe in you, or I wouldn't be offering you this opportunity. But
Yeah.
like, if you're not gonna take it, I gotta give it to someone else because there's somebody else waiting too, right? And
Yeah.
and I do believe that what's meant for us will eventually always come back and keep knocking, but it
Mm.
just we prolong it, right? We
Right.
put it off.
I mean, when is it gonna knock back? Is it gonna be years later? Do you have that many years to wait? I don't think so. I like that you mentioned at the very beginning. You said like I'm an adventurer, and actually Ray Dalio calls this the call to adventure,
It
and
is the culture
it's all
adventure.
about, like you said, just making that choice. Like it all starts with a choice, and then just realizing, yeah, it's gonna take some risk, but the reward is gonna be probably way bigger. I mean, nothing wrong with whoever wants to just have their regular job and a more
Yeah.
settled life, like nothing wrong with that. But for those that are that want to pursue something different and maybe their own venture, there is going to be risk involved. I'm curious, as you had now your sword and you were like kind of like blasting through entrepreneurship forward.
That needs to be an ad for you. That has to happen.
Yeah, you need it. Well, I don't know if you've seen the cover of her podcast, but she has the sword. She's like, like an epic dress and a sword.
And your website is epic too. So, so good. We need to make this an ad.
Yeah, absolutely. So like
the sword is important because the sword is there to cut. It's there to cut a very distinct allegiance. For me, the sword represents not only a shifting of allegiance from like part of this decision making is not doing it the way everyone else tells you to do it, not doing it the way the world tells you, you guys know, you just said at the beginning, you were enamored with like the bros and the Lambos and all this marketing, but it's all an illusion because those people rented those cars, they rented those homes. And it's like, when we like break free from the illusion and all of this programming that the world has, and we say, I'm going to make a declaration and a cut to shift my allegiance to listening to my heart, following the call, doing everything, coming back to how I'm designed to run my business. I think that we forget, right? And so for me, the sword is not only a reminder, but it's really like when I'm going in those moment to moment decisions where I'm starting to feel the call or the tension because I see other coaches doing something or other business owners, and it's so tempting.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the sword that, strikes you down if you follow that path because it's not meant for you. And so it's like, for me, it's that reminder to stay the course.
It's so good. I feel like everybody needs
a sword.
A sword. Yeah. We were just talking behind cameras like, yeah. I was sorting this household might not be the best idea with me and Kate. But,
An anchor.
Yeah, but like that thing, right? Like that thing that could be like your thing to hold on when times are hard, like your reminder. What is it, right? Like me personally, I have a tattoo in my back, right? That every time I do like a double tap, and it's like here we go, right? It's my guardian angel, a few other elements in there, but what is that one thing? And I think that's super important in many ways that can anchor you, right? That means something to you. And thank you for bringing that visual. It's just your story is way cooler than my tattoo.
I'm gonna have to find my thing too. I mean, I'm seeing a trend in here. You guys got the kids. You got a sword. You got the tattoo. I'm like, what do I have in here?
Being a parent, it like makes you a warrior and it gives you something to protect. It does, like to your point, Luis. You like, you just like instantly you're like, I have a fortress to protect. I call it like you have a kingdom now. This isn't just like you get to float around in the ether with, and it's just you. It's like you are here on this planet and you have people that you are responsible for and to. And so, yeah, it definitely changes things.
It helps. It helps. Sorry, Fonzie. I mean, that might be the solution, bro. I don't know.
Some pretty convincing arguments over here.
Let's find
next episode.
Let's find your lady.
Well, a queen. You guys were on my website. You got to have a queen worth fighting for too. So, like, that's the thing. It's like the question is, what are you fighting for?
That is true. Okay, so let's transition from push fit, right? Like you transition into the online world to this that you're doing right now and helping people. So, like, how was that transition? Like, why? First of all, like, why did you decide to transition into the online world?
Well, first of all, I have to say, I always say like this season always preparing me for the next season. So the danger isn't staying in one season too long. I told you, right? So the minute I started feeling the resistance or the boredom or just like, we got to tune into that. And I could feel my heart was like calling me, calling me. It's like, you're going into this work now. What I noticed was with all the clients that were coming into my facility over the years, whether it was autoimmune diseases, like trying to get in shape, whatever their health struggles were, I'll tell you 99% of them, probably 95%, was not because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to eat. They didn't, it was always like a mental, emotional, or spiritual root consistently. Most of my clients had relationship issues, either with their partner at home or with their parent or some unresolved stuff inside, and it kept manifesting in their body. It was interesting. So I was like, I ended up doing all this like coaching behind closed doors on these deeper spiritual, emotional conversations. And that was part of my journey as a health practitioner, moving beyond the body, beyond the physical. What else is going on? And so I just like fell in love with that. I love the mystery. I'm an adventurer at heart. I love the mystery. I like unearthing the roots. I don't like to play on the surface. I don't like to talk about bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to eat less food and work out more, because that's not the solution. Like there's a reason why you're not doing it or sabotaging. So, I think like so many solutions right now in the world are just superficial. Like, okay, make more money. Here's how, but nobody can hold on to it. Nobody knows how to multiply. Here's how to lose 30 pounds, but nobody can hold on to it. Nobody can multiply health. So my love really came from seeing the deeper roots. My heart was being called to it. And then it was like, I could just feel like it's time. It's time to go. And here's the thing. I still resist it. Right. I hesitated because by then the studio was making good money. I had a team. I had copious amounts of time off. Like I started my online coaching business and it was good, but I could feel the pull to this thing, but I was trying to hold on to the old thing too. And again, that's where we got to be careful, because I held on too long before I cut the cord again. Right. And I ended up finally cutting it off during COVID again, a little bit by force, but it's like I'd already grown the online business and I was loving it, because then I was taking people on retreats and, doing all the Zoom coaching. So I was fortunate to have this other business already growing, but it was a call to, again, it was like that time in the studio was preparing me for the work I'm doing now. Right. So what's cool is today I do so much energy work, so much body work. I understand how emotions and trauma and stuff is stored in the body. And I can work with people on these issues, whatever's coming up in their relationship or their business or their leadership team. And we get to bring the energy piece in, but not like woo woo energy, but like the energetics of how the body and, energy works.
Trust me, you're talking to the right people here.
We're believers of energy. Yeah. I don't think we can disagree on that one. We have crazy stories too around that. We just don't share much because, it's not like our avenue.
I'm just going to ask something real quick. We're going to run out of battery. You got to plug the computer.
I know. So here's the deal. We're recording live. We're not going to run out of battery. I'm going to solve it. But, Christine, you're not going to be able to see me on the screen. And maybe, Fonzie is going to have to look at a different camera. So that's about to happen in 5 minutes or so. But if that happens, but we're going to continue streaming.
There's no way to plug the computer?
It is plugged. It's just, I just need to figure out the connection.
This is not working.
Different connection.
Anyway. All right. Well, this is my
hold on. Can I go ask a question to listen to the answer while I fix the thing?
Sure,
okay.
You go.
I love the thing. I love state shifting, right?
Yes.
But sometimes we're not aware that we need to change that state, right? Like we don't know what we don't know. And I feel like for us it was forced in many ways, in many levels, in many of the cycles that we've been. Last year specifically, we had a very rough cycle. And I personally have done a lot of work in that sense lately in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
Which allowed me to, for example, write a letter to my dad that I've never would have been able to write before.
Yeah.
So how does somebody becomes aware, right? Does it have to live through a situation like that, or can we start doing some proactive work to get there?
Well, so that aligns with the question that I wanted to ask, which is, you mentioned that most of people's problems are caused by, those internals or relationship, let's call it those internal states. And my question aligns exactly with what my brother says. Like, how does somebody finds that, becomes aware? I might be asking selfishly because I'm, I might be going through a thing or two here. And I can feel it, me personally. I'm not seeing you in the camera right now, Christine, but I can feel it actually. It's like this tightness in
Yes.
my chest. I'm like, oh man, like there's something in there that is not usually there.
Yeah.
But then is I cannot put like words to the, I don't know, the feeling or whatever it is that's going on. So how do we identify it in a way that maybe we can pinpoint it with name and then know what to do next?
Yeah, that's such a good question. That's so good. I'm glad that you're asking that. So, first of all, I just want to say, that there are three kind of phases to transformation or evolution. The first place is awareness. Like, am I aware of what's going on? Right? A lot of us are unconscious, unaware. We're just kind of going through the motions, putting things aside. But once we have awareness, then comes the integration or the practice. And that's where most people run, because they want to go back to where it's comfortable and familiar. And it's actually the worst place to be. Once your eyes are open, once you see, you can't unsee. Once you see, you can't unsee. Once you have an experience, you can't unexperience it, really. Like, you remember, right? So the worst place is once you have this awareness, which is beautiful, and you're not taking active steps to begin to reorganize things in your life, to integrate that awareness into your life, it can become really painful for people to stay there, like uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But in the practice of just, breathing and relaxing through the process of, let's call it the upgrade, the expansion, then comes the embodiment. And embodiment is finally where we are the new identity. There's new systems and new programs running. So I just wanted to say that as a little bit of foundation, but, because awareness, what you just asked me, is like, how do we become aware faster, is basically what I'm hearing you say, right? Or ask me, is like, how, like, and so first of all, I would start by saying, a lot of people are not, first of all, setting the intention to be aware of what's a yes and what's a no for you, what you're flowing towards and what you're trying to push against. Right. And so, to your point, there's this tightness in my chest. I'm having a harder time sleeping. Like, I'm just noticing myself dissatisfied, or there's a restlessness in my mind and a restlessness in my body.
I'm just going to add something there. Mine is like, I feel that in the chest, but honestly, I'm like, I fall asleep everywhere. I'm tired.
You're
I'm like,
exhausted.
that's
Okay.
the thing. I'm consistently tired. I'm
Yeah.
like, I would just want to take naps all day.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. So the fatigue, that's another element. Either the mind doesn't shut off and people are like, really ungrounded, or they're just exhausted and they just don't have the capacity or the energy to show up the way they used to, right? Everything seems to take so much more of your bandwidth basically to execute on. So these are things that I'm like, okay, let's pay attention to those signs, because those are like ding, 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 ding. Something is out of alignment. Something's not working. And the worst thing is we've been so programmed as a society to be like, oh, just like push through it, work through it, just get up, just put on some happy music and like give yourself some motivational videos and you'll be fine. And that's, I think, the danger of what the personal development world has done. It's had us push down, cast aside, put these things in the closet and be like, I don't have time to deal with this. It's weak, whatever. And I just have to push through. Something's wrong with me. Instead of going, okay, let me really put on the heart of an adventure. I always say, like, that's a call for you to begin to get curious. What is this actually about? What is actually going on? And instead of trying to ignore it or just beat yourself up about it, is to create the space. Create the space to get curious. It's like any adventure. Everybody wants to, like, you need a space to go into to start getting curious, to explore. And most people will not give themselves the intentional space to go, okay, I'm just going to take this time to be with myself, to be with my thoughts, to write, to be curious, to have these conversations. And really, I think the key there is spaciousness and curiosity. And here's the thing, if we're truly curious and we really begin to ask our heart, what do I actually not enjoy anymore? What am I not enjoying? What do I desire more of? What feels completely out of integrity for me? What's really going on? And we begin to ask these questions, and then we actually listen to the answer. Because here's what happens. People get the answer, but they don't like it. Their head doesn't like it. And it's like, anything but that. Give me another answer. So like
Yeah.
I work a lot with people in the faith community too, and they're like praying for the answer. And I'm like, they're like, I'm not getting an answer. I'm like, no, you got the answer. You just didn't like the one you got.
So you're searching for another one.
Yeah, you're like, give me another way. And I always say, like, I mean, I really believe God is a God of process. So we are being refined in the process of wrestling with the questions. So am I willing to wrestle with the questions? And then when the answer comes up, to really honor it. And I think like the key there is the missing link is that we are not taught to really honor our own fears, our own emotions, our own heart. We're not really taught how to honor and respect ourselves. And then we get upset when people don't honor and respect us. But I'm like, do you know how to do that for yourself? Because hands down, every single person that I've ever coached didn't.
Yeah.
They never really took the time and the space to listen to themselves, to hear what their heart had to say, to ask themselves questions, and then to honor themselves enough to move in the direction that they were being called to move. Because it's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
It is.
And that usually means letting some people down. I'll say this last piece and then I want to hand it over to you, right? Because when things come up, it usually means I get to have some honest conversations with people that I really don't want to have. Or I got to say no to things that I really don't know what's on the other side of. And so we start hiding, or hiding is a familiar pattern.
Very interesting.
It's
good food for thought. What's the story?
Am I the relationship that you need to cut off? You can tell me right here, right now.
Are we doing some therapy right now?
Oh,
I'm not a therapist, therapist. I'm not a ist anything. But I just want to say, like, I think we when we can get curious, like really legitimately curious, instead of trying to fix something or assume something is broken, it's just like, let me just see. Let's just see. Yeah. What is this about? And then giving yourself some space to play. Like, we take life way too seriously. And I think that we have these expectations that we should be at a different place. We should be at a different state. We should be making more money, should be married, should live here, should do this. And it's like, really? We're just kids playing on this earth. We got to have fun again. We forget.
Yeah. I related so much with the fear side when you mentioned it. And it's funny, like just today, Luca was taking his first like swim lesson, right? And as you're explaining this, like we don't know how to cope with fear. I'm going through, I wasn't there, but I was receiving videos from Katie, right? And all you can hear is like Luca in the far like pool with like the instructor, right? Just crying the heck out, but he's doing the thing, right?
Yes.
He's crying, and he's doing the thing, and then he gets up on this edge and he's still crying, and then he jumps off, right? But Luca's 3, like just turned 3, right?
Yeah.
And he's always been swimming with the water wings, the thing. So I called my wife and I'm like, hey, how'd it go? She's like, oh my gosh, it was crazy, horrible. He kept crying all the time. I'm like, but he did it, right? And then you can hear Luca in the background, like on the phone. He's like, I cried. And I'm like, that's awesome, right? And I just made the connection today. Like he was facing that fear, right? Like that's something unknown with somebody that he doesn't know. And he was just doing the thing, right? And it's like those moments that, we have to celebrate. And sometimes, when we first launched the show, we had 60 days like of runway, like if not bye business, we had a $25,000 debt that we didn't really know how we were going to pay at the time. And we're like, this is very scary, right?
We're crying too.
I was freaking out because I was the one looking at the spreadsheets. And I'm like, how am I actually going to tell Katie that I invested $25,000 that we didn't have, right? Like to do this thing, to do this business. But again, we leaned in, right? We celebrated on that. And I think like that has become one of the indicators, right? We talked about this in previous episodes where maybe we don't need to, feel the fear like that intense, like in many, like that often, but maybe it is an indicator when we face different situations that come our way that we might need to lean in, right? So I think it was George that shared this visual with us, and I know that you have something to add in that for that comment. And I'll let you add, but like for George share with us the bison, right? The bison is the only animal that like sees the storm and he goes through it because the fastest way through. And I remember like that conversation and it meant so much that I'm like, man, that's such a cool visual, right? So that's where my mind and my heart goes every time we see something like that. I'm like, we may have to like go explore something.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we're not created for comfort. We're not created for comfort, because the minute somebody gets comfortable, what happens? What happens if we get comfortable in our business? What happens to the business, right? We get bored. Money starts to flatline. You get bored you get comfortable in a relationship, a little too comfortable. Guess what happens? You start looking for the adventure, right? Where's the
We want
fun?
novelty.
We are created for novelty. We are created for discovery. I always say, like in the beginning, like man is created from the outback, from the dirt, like, and it's in our bones, it's in our DNA, it's in our soul to be in the adventure of life. And I think that this is like, yes, it's terrifying. And I also believe that that's why we are called, when we actually feel fully alive and we're in that moment, it's like we're living, not just in the comfort zone, but it's forcing us to come into relationship with God, with spirit, with the universe, like something else that's so amazing. Whether you're skiing down a mountain or you're on an adventure or you're launching a new business, it's like, it's so bigger, that it's so much more than just you, right? But when you're comfortable, it's all on you. And it's like, we're not meant to live in the comfort zone and to be the source of everything in our life. We're really designed to be in the endless adventure. And if we really honor the way that we're created as human beings, it's like, instead of chasing the next thing all the time and being dissatisfied, just know you're an infinite creative being. So the minute you're done creating this, you're just going to be loving creating the next thing, because otherwise you die, right? So it's like, can I just really have fun creating what I'm creating now, and keep moving and being like befriending the unknown, befriending just like making that place like my new home, where I am a little bit uncomfortable, but I really train myself to relax, train myself to relax. Like, a lot of my work is about being calm in the chaos. It's like you're tuned in, you could see all the plates spinning, and you're just like, yeah. It's kind of like you can hear all the noises, all the things you can hear. If you give too much of your energy to it, it takes over your system and you get freaked out, right? Look at the spreadsheet for too long and you're like, right? Like you're feeding it too much of your energy. Know enough, feel the fear. Yeah. But use that as a sign that's like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. That means let me lean in. Like, let me go and just get curious. So yeah, that's why I say, like, when we talk about playing in another realm, even in relationships, I do a lot of work in relationships. Is like, I've worked with also men who are like, I want to love many women. I'm like, honey, you're not going deep and wide enough with one woman. You're too scared. You want to stay on the surface.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to spread yourself out. But if you're willing to go into the depth of the mystery with the feminine, whew,
yeah.
You're going to be in the adventure with her for a while, but it gets boring because we play at the surface.
Interesting.
That's been so good.
So much food for thought.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna add this out there. Christine, it has been absolutely amazing. We just got a few minutes left, so definitely we're gonna have to do a part 2. But I just wanna, I've heard this from multiple sources, right? That after a certain age, it is very difficult for humans to change, but change can be triggered through like certain type of traumatic, and I don't want to use like traumatic in like the negative connotation of the word, but like certain traumatic events, right? And I don't know, like I feel like these conversations in a way relate to that, because one, somebody that might have spent most of their life in their comfort zone, right, and they're used to the comfort, but like you're saying, we're not created for that, so probably they're just sitting in the comfort zone pretty miserable, right? And they're like
uncomfortable.
And uncomfortable. Exactly. Ooh, and uncomfortable. And they're like, well, but what's missing? Well, what's missing is that aspect of creation and novelty in your life. But how do they redefine that? How do they go and, kind of like start rediscovering that side of themselves? Does it really take, trauma to like,
I don't, I think like, here's the thing, right? Here's the irony of it all. We think we're comfy and it's like the comfort zone, but the reality is most people that are in their comfort zone are sedating themselves, right? They're drinking, they're on social media, they're watching, like whatever the thing is, they're bored. So they're really still experiencing all the restlessness and the discomfort, and they're kidding themselves. They're lying to themselves, right? A lot of times. So, and I'm not saying, now there's a difference between being comfortable and settling and knowing that you are not truly alive in your body versus being at ease. And so I invite people like, yes, let's be at ease. Let's learn to be at ease wherever we are in the adventure. So train yourself to be at ease while also being in the, the childlike wonder and awe. When we go back to like your little boy, or the 3-year-old, the little child inside of us that's designed, like the kids want to explore, right? They look over their shoulder to make sure, like, I'm not going to die, right? Like you're going to, just in case you're going to be here to catch me, but we're designed to go and test our limit and test the edge and play. And so I would say, like, first of all, can we start adding more play into our life? Like actual play, not just like things to entertain us, but things that, stretch us a little bit. And for my 75-year-old mom, it might be going for a hike in the hiking trails down the road, right? But what is that one thing that just stretches you enough that requires you to, that will open your eyes and move you into that place of novelty? And you can train yourself to be at ease walking down that trail or making new connections in business or whatever. It doesn't have to be extremes. The thing is, I think we stop putting ourselves in these intentional stretches that are out of our comfort zone and training ourselves to be at ease and relaxed in the discomfort.
That's so good. I think there's a lot to unpack this episode. I'm gonna like this action. I love this. This action point starts in minute 45. If you want to go back to the last 3 minutes.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. The producer that did the review of her show is gonna hate us.
I know.
After he listens,
Why?
He told us that we need to be a little bit more confrontational in certain point of views. But we're like, but our guests are so awesome and they have incredible points of views, and we agree with them. So I'm like, we've agreed with everything that's been said today. But it has been absolutely amazing. We agree for a reason.
There's been a few episodes, right, in our life that, coming from Venezuela and playing soccer and going alone at 15 different countries.
Yeah.
And, we've experienced some things, right? And I think our life might not be as normal as people think it is. Right? When we first start sharing these stories, they're like, "What? How old are you?"
Yeah.
We're very open-minded,
and we're also very open-minded to accept all these things. And we take these nuggets from like people and the lessons, and obviously their experience. And clearly, you have an incredible experience with everything that you've done. So why not? So suck it. But no, I'm kidding.
I mean, we can get in a fight if you want to, but we're gonna.
She has an unfair advantage with the sword.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But again, everybody, like, let's say, I understand, right? Like, there might be people listening that this might be the first time that they hear something like this, right? Like, you might be going through a hard truth at the moment, trying to be aware of a situation that's happening, and it might not be easy. Like when I wrote to my dad, that was something that was not easy, right? For example. Yeah. So
exactly.
Take it.
That's a perfect example, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to tap on that, because that place of adventure, that place of the unknown, could be like having a really vulnerable conversation with your father, or writing a letter, or having a conversation with your partner. That's like, right? It's taking you guys to another space, and you get to train yourself to be relaxed. So I just wanted to say it. I wanted to come back to honor you for doing that, because that's a
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I read the whole thing to FONZI the other day, and today he's like, "What letter?" I'm like, "Bro, you missed the whole thing."
I thought it was like a text message. So when he said like a letter, I was like, "Wait, I'm confused. What are you talking about?"
I spent like 10 minutes reading it to you. Like, that's not a text.
If it goes above 10 lines, it's no longer a text message. It's a letter.
And I want to really make the connection as we wrap up the show, because I cannot be late for soccer for Luca. But as I make the connection, right, with content can be a scary thing, right? It can be that place to, feel the uncomfortable and see those plates kind of floating around. There's a lot of stuff happening. You're creating, everything that Christine said today, it can be applied to that world. Like, I go back, and it was the same thing when we created the podcast, when we created 45 Live, and it was, we felt uncomfortable, and we pushed through, and look at us now. Here we go.
Still uncomfortable and awkward.
Still uncomfortable and awkward.
And that never goes away.
Yeah.
It never goes away.
I'm not knowing how to say entertain. Anyways, Christine, it has been an honor. Thank you so much for coming in. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me. I think you just to double down on that last piece. I mean, I think content is just sharing our lives, like being raw, being real, sharing what's coming up, and just inviting people to judge us or join us.
Yes, that's
I like it.
good.
Invite
That's
people
it.
to judge us or join us. Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
With
Let's
that
go.
said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if Christine here help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.
This
I
was
know.
awesome. Thank you, Christine.
Join us or judge us. Here we go.
Join or judge me. Join me or judge me. Let's go. Pick one.
Yeah. Also, Christine, we're still live.
Yep.
We just need a quick selfie time. Woo!
AKA screenshot.
AKA screenshot. So the count of three, we're all gonna smile. Let's see. 1, 2, and 3. Sweet.
All
awesome.
right.
Social media.
Man.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
We should have used
Take
a
care.
sword for the selfie.